Some of the biggest finds in history don't come from expeditions or experts. They come from a shepherd throwing a rock, a farmer digging a well, a kid looking up at the wrong moment. Here are 10 discoveries the world was never supposed to trip over. Göbekli Tepe. It's the mid-1990s in southeastern Turkey, and for years a local farmer has been cursing the same hill. Every time he plows it, his blade catches on stone just under the soil. Buried rock. He assumes it's a medieval grave and keeps working around it. Then an archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt comes to look at the mound near Şanlıurfa in 1994, and he understands almost immediately that everyone has been wrong for 30 years. Under that hill are rings of massive T-shaped limestone pillars, some of them 5 meters tall, carved with foxes, scorpions, vultures, and snakes. It's a temple, and when they date it, the number breaks the timeline. It's around 11,000 years old. That makes it roughly 6,000 years older than Stonehenge and older than writing, older than the wheel, older than pottery. Here is why that matters. The old story says humans settle down to farm first, then build monuments. Gobekli Tepe is built by hunter-gatherers before farming. The temple comes first. A plowing farmer's annoyance turns out to be the thing that rewrites when civilization begins. The Dead Sea Scrolls. It's 1947 near the Dead Sea, and a young Bedouin shepherd is chasing a lost goat up a cliff face at a place called Qumran. He throws a rock into a cave opening, half hoping to scare the animal out. Instead of a bleat, he hears pottery shatter. That sound is the most valuable thing he will ever hear. He climbs in and finds tall clay jars, and inside them, rolls of leather and papyrus wrapped in linen. He has no idea what they are. He and his family take a few of them, and eventually they end up with a dealer, then with scholars, and the scholars nearly lose their minds. The scrolls are around 2,000 years old. They include the oldest known copies of Hebrew Bible texts by 1,000 years, plus writings from a Jewish sect that lived out in the desert. Over the next decade, searchers comb the cliffs and pull roughly 900 manuscripts out of 11 caves. A shepherd looking for a goat throws one rock and lands the most important biblical manuscript find in history. He never gets rich from it. The texts he stumbled onto reshape how scholars understand the entire ancient world of the Bible. The Terracota Army. It's March 1974 near the city of Xi'an in China, and a group of farmers are digging a well because their village needs water in a drought. They get down a few meters, and their tools hit something hard and shaped. Pieces of fired clay, then a head, a life-size human head, staring back up out of the dirt. One of the farmers, Yang Jifa, thinks he's disturbed a temple god and worries he's cursed. He isn't digging up a statue. He's broken into the roof of a buried army. Archaeologists arrive and start uncovering pits that go on and on. Around 8,000 life-size soldiers, each one with a different face, standing in battle formation. Horses, chariots, archers, infantry, officers, all in clay, all facing east. They've been standing in the dark for over 2,000 years, built to guard the tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. Nobody knew this existed. It's in no surviving record as something you could still find. The scale is so huge that most of the complex is still unexcavated today. A well that never got dug becomes the greatest archaeological discovery of the 20th century. Tutankhamun's tomb. It's November 1922 in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt, and the archaeologist Howard Carter is running out of money and out of time. He's spent years searching for one specific pharaoh's tomb, a minor boy king most people had forgotten, and his backer, Lord Carnarvon, is about to pull the funding. Then a water boy on the dig clears some sand and uncovers a stone step. Then another, a staircase leading down to a sealed door. Carter chips a hole through the plaster, holds up a candle, and looks in. When Carnarvon asks if he can see anything, Carter says, "Yes, wonderful things." Behind that door is the only near-intact pharaoh's tomb ever found. Every other royal grave in the valley was stripped by robbers centuries ago. This one, tucked under later rubble, they missed. Inside are around 5,000 objects. Chariots, weapons, furniture, jewelry, and the solid gold death mask, all sealed up for more than 3,000 years. Tutankhamun barely rated a mention in history. He dies around 18 and gets a small tomb. But because thieves overlooked that small tomb, he becomes the most famous pharaoh who ever lived, entirely by accident. The Sanxingdui Masks. It's 1986 in Sichuan, China, and workers at a local brick factory are digging clay when their tools scrape into a pit that stops them cold. Inside are faces, dozens of them. Enormous bronze masks with sharp features and eyes that bulge outward on stalks, unlike anything in Chinese art. There are bronze heads taller than a person, a statue standing over 2.5 meters, trees of bronze, and a mask covered in gold. And here's the part that makes historians uneasy. The civilization that made these appears in no historical record at all. No text names them, no chronicle mentions their kings. They flourish around 3,000 years ago. They produce bronze work rivaling anything in the ancient world. And then they vanish so completely that until these brickmakers hit the pit, nobody knew they had ever existed. Whoever they were, they deliberately smashed and burned many of these objects before burying them, and no one knows why. A ritual, a disaster, a fleeing people covering their tracks. The best guesses are still just guesses. An entire lost civilization walks out of the ground because a brick factory needed more clay. The Staffordshire Hoard. It's July 2009 in a farmer's field in Staffordshire, England, and a man named Terry Herbert is walking the dirt with a second-hand metal detector. He's an amateur. He's been at this hobby for years without finding much. Then the detector starts screaming, and it doesn't stop. He digs, and gold comes up. Then more gold. Over the next days, so much gold that he fills bag after bag and starts to feel like he's dreaming. He's found the largest hoard of Anglo-Saxon gold ever discovered, around 4,600 pieces, more than 5 kilograms of gold and over a kilogram of silver. Most of it is war gear, sword fittings, hilt plates, stripped from weapons and folded up, buried in the 600s during the violent age of the early English kingdoms. Nobody knows who buried it or why. It might be war loot, a payment, an offering to the gods. It's dug into a field beside an old Roman road and then, for 1,300 years, forgotten completely. One hobbyist with a cheap detector, on land nobody thought twice about, pulls up a treasure that fills a museum and rewrites what we know about Anglo-Saxon craftsmanship. The Antikythera Wreck. It's 1900 in the sea between Crete and mainland Greece, and a crew of sponge divers is only there because a storm blew them off course. They anchor near the tiny island of Antikythera to wait out the weather. While they wait, one diver, Elias Stadiatis, goes down in a heavy canvas suit and brass helmet to look for sponges. He comes up fast and panicked, babbling about a heap of dead bodies on the seabed. They aren't bodies, they're bronze and marble statues, arms and faces and torsos scattered across the wreck of an ancient ship around 45 meters down. The ship is a Roman-era cargo vessel that sank around 2,000 years ago, hauling Greek treasures. The divers bring up stunning bronze figures, marble horses, glassware, and jewelry. This becomes the first major underwater archaeology project in history, and the divers pay for it. Working at that depth, with no understanding of decompression, one of them dies and others are left paralyzed by the bends. A storm they never wanted, at an island they never meant to visit, drops them directly onto one of the richest shipwrecks in the ancient Mediterranean. The Uluburun Shipwreck. It's 1982 off the southern coast of Turkey, and a sponge diver named Mehmed Sakir is trying to describe something strange he keeps seeing on the seabed. He tells the authorities he spotted what look like metal biscuits with ears down in the deep water near a cape called Uluburun. That odd phrase turns out to be one of the most important sentences in Bronze Age archaeology. The biscuits with ears are oxhide ingots of copper, flat slabs with handles at the corners. They're the cargo of a ship that sank around 1300 BC, more than 3,000 years ago. When archaeologists excavate it over years of dangerous deep dives, the hold is a snapshot of the ancient world's economy. 10 tons of copper, tin to make bronze, glass ingots, ebony logs, elephant and hippo ivory, ostrich eggshells, gold, and goods from at least 7 different cultures, all on one hull. This single wreck proves the Bronze Age was far more connected than anyone believed. A real international trade network centuries before classical Greece. A sponge diver reaching for a plain description of some odd metal on the seabed hands, historians the best evidence we have of how the ancient world actually did business. Derinkuyu. It's 1963 in the Cappadocia region of Turkey, and a man is renovating his home, knocking down a wall in his basement. Behind the wall, where there should be solid rock, there's a dark gap, a passage. He follows it, and it keeps going, down into the ground, opening into rooms, then corridors, then more rooms. He hasn't found a cellar. He's found the entrance to an entire underground city. Derinkuyu goes down around 18 levels, roughly 85 meters into the volcanic rock. It has stables, kitchens, wineries, chapels, wells, and ventilation shafts running the whole depths so the air stays breathable far below the surface. Massive circular stone doors can be rolled across the tunnels from the inside to seal the city off from attackers. At full capacity, it can hide and sustain up to 20,000 people, plus their livestock and food stores. People carve it out over centuries and use it to shelter from invading armies, hiding underground until the danger passes. Then it empties, gets sealed, and is forgotten until one man decides to open up his basement wall. Beneath an ordinary town, an entire hidden world waits, and a home renovation is all it takes to wake it up. The Cave of Altamira. It's 1879 in northern Spain, and a man named Marcelino Sanz de Sautuola is crouched on the floor of a cave digging through the dirt for ancient tools. His 8-year-old daughter Maria has come along, and she's bored wandering deeper into the dark with a lamp. Then she looks up, and she calls out to her father that there are oxen on the ceiling. He crawls over, raises his light, and sees them. Enormous bison painted in red and black across the rock overhead, so alive they seem to move in the flickering flame. Sautuola realizes these are ancient, older than anything he's seen, and he's right in a way even he can't imagine. Some of the art in that cave is around 36,000 years old, made by Ice Age humans. But here, the story turns cruel. When Sautuola announces the find, the experts refuse to believe prehistoric people could paint anything so skilled. They accuse him of faking it. He dies years later, discredited and disbelieved. Only afterward, when similar caves surface across Europe, is he proven right. A restless little girl glancing at the ceiling finds the first great cave art ever recognized, and her father pays for it with his reputation.